What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TexAgs High School Football Show. The offseason is over. Friday Night Lights in the Lone Star State are back. I'm Ryan Brauninger. He's Jason Howell. We are the TexAgs recruiting team, and for the entirety of the fall this year, our TexAgs High School Football Show will be presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. So thankful for their sponsorship this fall. Academy Sports and Outdoors has all your high school football road trip needs this season. Get the right gear for the long season with free curbside pickup today. I know I'll be going to Academy a lot this football season. I always get to my stadiums, Jason, a little bit ahead of time, and I'm like, I forgot this. Well, Academy's always open. They got anything we need, whether you're a fisherman, a golfer, an athlete, or a lowly sports high school football reporter like Jason and myself. But super excited to be back with you guys this fall. And we will begin in earnest this week. We've hit some scrimmages so far, Jason. This being our first episode, we got to get to some predictions. We'll get to our games this week, but just your excitement. To me, this is the most fun part of the year, your excitement to get back up on the road and DFW, and as we'll see, across the state for you here early on, but to start the Texas high school football season.
Yeah, man, it's just good to have football back. Everybody, all the speculation can kind of come to an end, and we can put that ball in play and see what happens. It's always fun. There's a lot of quarterback questions going on out there.
We were just talking about that.
Some coaching changes, and it's man, it's always fun to debate that in preseason, but we're about to see some real live game action, and that's it doesn't get any better than that.
Well, let's start with this. Let's start with our schedule for this week.
Yeah.
Usually we'll start with kind of what we saw the week before, what we liked, what we didn't like, and kind of the implications of those games. But because we've got no preseason, we've been to a couple of scrimmages, but how much can you really take away from scrimmages? For instance, last year during the preseason, I believe the Los Angeles Rams did not win a single preseason game. That seemed to not really matter to them when the season started. So
you got starters out and things like that.
Yeah, and, scripts and shortened quarters, shortened fields, no special teams, all these things that really make an impact on outcomes of games. So it was nice to get back on the road and see a few scrimmages for me, but it's nothing like the real thing. So let's start with this. Let's start with our upcoming weeks, where you're going, and there's going to be a lot of people in the Metroplex that may be a little bit upset with Mr. Howell, how he's starting the season.
I think they can live with it. I get to see one of the best in Texas, Denton Ryan, right off the bat, but it's going to be down in Central Texas there at Mary Hardin Baylor in Belton. So on Thursday night, I'll see Denton Ryan and those Raiders face off with New Braunfels. Get to see five-star Anthony Hill, Texas A&M commit. That one should be a lot of fun. Ryan definitely has high expectations coming into the year. And then on Friday, I'll be down in Central Texas, down in Austin, taking a look at Austin Westlake and Fort Bend Ridgepoint. Get to see top target TJ Shanahan there on the offensive line there for Westlake. Get to see what's going on with new head coach Tony Salazar and
interesting quarterback situation
there. Jumping in at quarterback and just a lot of talent up and down that roster. And Ridgepoint, you can never count out Ridgepoint. They got some players of their own. So
that's a program.
I'm excited to see both teams.
Coach
play.
Lefevre's down there at Ridgepoint. That's a program that's been on the cusp of being, overtaking some of the big powers in the city of Houston.
Yeah.
They would love nothing more to get their season started by going out west and knocking off Austin Westlake. That would be a huge upset and a huge springboard for them. So you've got those anywhere Saturday, or are you back to Dallas?
No, I'm that's my weekend. That's my opening weekend, and we'll see how it all plays out from there.
Well, I've got a little bit of respite from my Houston people because I am going to start my season there on Thursday night at the Berry Center as Katie Tompkins takes on Cy Ranch. There's some really, really good matchups in the city of Houston to open up the season. You got the Woodlands against North Shore. You got Atascocita against Dickinson. Really tasty matchups, both of those. But I'm going to start at Cy Ranch versus Katie Tompkins. Katie Tompkins, a program that I really like. They've set a great culture. Coach McVay down there does a terrific job, and obviously got one of the best 2024 offensive linemen in the country there in Ashton Funk. But they've also got a lot of playmakers, a really underrated kid in Wyatt Young, who I like a lot. There was some injury concerns, but I've heard he's going to be back in at 100%. And we know Cy Ranch with Jared Sample, Ashton Porter, Christian Braithwaite, really talented team there on the northwest side of Houston. Coach McAuliffe, who was at Converse Judson for a long time, Coach DeMarvin Leal, now the head coach there at Cy Ranch. So from there, I'm going a little small town to start my Friday night lights. I'm going to go over to LaGrange and see the Leopards take on Belleville. And I know Belleville's got some underclassmen they're really excited about. LaGrange obviously led by top 100 athlete Bravion Rogers, decommitted from A&M. Aggie still in the mix there. So get my chance to get my eyes on Bravion. And then on Saturday, I will be bright and early for a triple header at the Alamo Dome, which I'm pumped about because usually when you go to San Antonio, right, or like you're getting to stay an extra night in Central Texas and in Austin. That certainly helps whenever you go make those trips. And so when you get to go to San Antonio and you get to see 3 games instead of just 1, it certainly makes a lot of sense. And I'm super pumped about it as a triple header at the Alamo Dome featuring, I believe, starting the morning is Smithson Valley versus San Antonio Reagan. Then it is Converse Judson versus San Antonio Brandeis. And then I think the final one is Cibolo Steel versus San Antonio Johnson. So really pumped about that triple header and seeing 5 games. We'll also have photographers out at more games. So I don't know that there's going to be any company, especially an independent company, that's going to cover more high school football games this fall than TexAgs. And I'm super stoked about it.
Oh, man, it's going to be fun. Be out and about, a lot of storylines to follow in all of those games. A lot of big-time Texas A&M prospects at every one of them too. So it's gonna be fun.
Well, and I think too, when we start looking at the guys at Dave Campbell's do a great job. You start looking at their preseason polls, and there's a pretty good mix, but it starts to get a little Dallas heavy, in that top 10 in 6A. But I guess I say Dallas heavy. It's actually pretty even this year. Even the top teams, like in Houston, you look at North Shore and Katy, big question marks. When you look at Duncanville, a big question mark. South Lake, some question marks. Like there's not really, when you look at it, one team you're going, man, they're the lay down favorite, at least in 6A.
Yeah, there's like you said, there's question marks, and each one of those, you got Westlake, who's going to be quarterback, new head coach. I'll be honest, one of the teams I feel most confident in is South Lake Carroll. But they bring back a quarterback, a seasoned quarterback, and they've got some dudes up front. They've got my eye right now in 6A. Along with Denton Geyer. Both of those teams are going to be fun to watch this fall. But you're right. Up and down the list, there's a lot of unanswered questions at some really top heavy, some of the best programs in the state. So who's going to be quarterback? Like we said, coaching change. I mean, Allen's got a new head coach. Got Westlake, like I said, you got you got a lot of things going on that could really lead to some new teams stepping up and coming out of the woodwork a little bit and making a nice little run.
Well, yeah, and I said on Twitter, at least in Houston, I think the gaps, they say it was like Katy and North Shore, then there was a little bit of a gap than everybody else. I definitely think that gap is closing when you look at teams like Spring Westfield, and we mentioned Fort Bend Ridge Point, and I really like the Woodlands this year, and Katy Pato making the jump from 5A to 6A, and that defense is absolutely loaded. That front seven, Jason, is going to be as good as anybody in the state. So I don't know what their offense is going to be, but their offense may not have to be much when you've got a defense like they're going to put on the field there at Katy Pato. So
they know what it takes to get there.
Sure. So. All right, so let's do this. Let's start putting some skin on the line right here.
All right.
And we'll start with 6A. It's not broken down in Division I and Division II. So let's go a 6A state champion for you.
I mentioned South Lake Carroll.
And one dark horse. So give me a winner and a dark horse.
Well, I'm gonna go, man. Right now, it's between Geyer and South Lake out of the DFW area for me. I just like what both brings to the table, and at quarterback, I like you know the mentality of both teams. But I think I'm going with South Lake continuity there with Riley Dodge at the helm. You got Keaton Anderson returning for his second season as a starter. You got a strong offensive line, and you got defense that knows what they're doing. Like they're just always solid on that defense. It gets a little overshadowed by what they do on offense, but I like the Carroll Dragons. I think they got a great chance to put it together. And if I'm looking for a dark horse, I don't know if you can call them a dark horse, but they are a little further down the list um, than I typically like. Man, I think I'm leaning towards Allen. Uh, they
Michael
got
Hawkins.
yeah, Mike Hawkins is a dude, man. He is when it comes to cerebral and athletic quarterbacks and a guy who can just make all the throws. I think Hawkins is as polished as it comes in the state. He's taken some bumps over the last year or so, but and they do have a new coach, so they may have some hiccups early. But I think they have what it takes, especially coming out of that district, to really put things together and hit their stride and make a strong run. I really like what they have as far as offensive weapons. They're not just going to be focused on. They got a couple receivers that I can see him linking up with, and then Davon Martin is one of the best 25s you'll see in the country. Just a phenomenal tight end that I think he's got the chance to be a really interesting weapon for that offense. And then on defense, you got Zena, Omozolo, and all those cats over there. So I like Allen. I'll put them in as a dark horse, as crazy as that may sound.
Yeah, and it's hard to pick against Austin Westlake, right? They've won 3 in a row. Isn't that correct? So it's really, despite the coaching change and new quarterback, it's really hard to pick against them, especially when you keep the continuity with Coach Salazar, who was on Todd Dodge's staff as a fantastic defensive coordinator. Obviously in Houston, really hard to pick against North Shore after what they did. But you know what, man? And I don't know why I'm going to do this. I want to pick Duncanville. I just think that it's a little bit of clearer path for them. I like their skill talent. DK Moore is fantastic. Colin Simmons on the other side of the front seven. If they can get average to good quarterback play, I really like Duncanville, and I think they're due to break through. They've gotten to the door a bunch, and they've just not been able to walk through it. But as a dark horse, I'm going to pick the Woodlands. Okay. Now, that's going to surprise. Now, I just said to start the show that you can't read too much into scrimmages, but the improvement that I saw at a Mabry Medtower last week, their 2024 quarterback, really impressive, extremely physical on the offensive line, really good at receiver and young at receiver. Quanell X, Patrick Rabel, outstanding skill talent there at the Woodlands. Their defense, they got some good-looking pieces now. They've got a couple of mid-majors or non-power 5 kids on defense. That's my dark horse in Houston is the Woodlands. If Mabry Medtower if he plays at the level that I saw him the other night, they're going to be really, really tough to beat because that offensive line just wears on you and wears on you. And they may be the biggest one in the state of Texas. I think they're going the smallest guy they got may be 6'2", 275 pounds. That's the smallest guy they got. So I like what Coach Jim Rapp and the Woodlands have there. And then keeping an eye also just to shout out Spring Westfield. I think they're going to be very good. All right, 5A Division I. And we won't pick every division. We'll go the 2 5As, and then we'll pick maybe we can go to 4A Division I and 2, and then pick a small school we feel good about. 5A Division I, I'm going Denton Ryan. My 2 dark horses would be Manville. Manville's going to have a freshman quarterback, by all accounts, Roman Seymour. And we saw him at camp this summer, really talented kid, physical for a freshman. It's a lot to ask for him to go win a state championship. But I really like Denton Ryan I think College Station takes a step back, even though I hate to say that. And I like A&M Consolidated too. So give me Denton Ryan as my state championship, and I'll take two dark horses: A&M Consolidated and Manville.
Well, and I'm going to agree with you on Denton Ryan. You've got a lot of that defense is going to be as nasty as ever. They are flying around, and they will. You got Anthony Hill back there doing whatever he does, and you got. Kalen Davis has been there. I think he started 3 years now, but he's been in that program for what seems like forever. And they've got some weapons on offense. You got Cleve Hicks committed to Oklahoma. You got Jordan Bailey, who's committed to TCU. So you've got some firepower there to go along with that defense, and they're going to be tough to stop. Dark horse, man, shoot. I'll be honest. I don't have anything off the tip of my tongue for dark horse.
Well, I'd say like Longview's ranked number one. If Longview gets quarterback play, they're going to be a problem.
They could. Yeah. But they got it. That's something that I want to see, before I'm ready to crown them number one or make them my state championship pick. And I'm looking, like you can never count out Lone Star. Lone Star is always going to be fun to watch. Ryan's my pick right now as far as that favorite in 5A D1.
We have some congruency there in 5A D1. I think we're going to have it in 5A Division 2, and you're going to have to talk me out of picking South Oak Cliff as my state champion. And then I actually really like Lucas Lovejoy at number 2 as well.
Well, at South Oak Cliff, they're replacing a quarterback, but they got him a good one. Looking good on offense and defense, tons of weapons. And if they can get it going at quarterback, I think they're going to be hard to stop. We'll see. They get a nice matchup right out of the gate this week against Duncanville on Saturday on ESPN. So be sure to check that out. South Oak Cliff. I don't know if they can beat Duncanville this weekend, but I bet they make it a heck of a ball game. I bet that one's fun to watch, and they're gonna be my pick at the top of that 5A Division 2. Got to see Lovejoy last week, and that is a fast-paced offense with a ton of weapons. You never count out Argyle.
Argyle's new to the division, right? They were 4A last year, 4A Division 1. Also, Mansfield Summit was a 5A Division 1 team last year that went to the state semifinals and got beat by College Station High. They have now reclassified to 5A Division 2. So I'm keeping an eye on those two in the Metroplex. And then Fort Bend Marshall, that's another one. I think it's going to depend on quarterback play. They may start a freshman at quarterback. If they get good quarterback play, their skill talent it's young. You got Jacoby Banks and a bunch of young, really talented kids in Andre Feast and Jacaden Ferguson. They're always going to have the athletes, but I think they're going to play with a little chip on their shoulder because they went out in the first round last year after making all those runs to the state championship game. I think Coach Williams will have his guys ready to go and playing in a much better, more competitive district this year too.
And I would throw in Melissa. They got a strong game to kick things off with Argyle this right off the bat. So you're gonna find out a little bit about what Melissa is made of, but they got a ton of athletes. They got offensive front. They've got Trevor Gooseby, Owen Hollenbeck at 25 that everybody's keeping an eye on there, and they've got Nigel Smith on the defensive front, Jackson Ford, big move in on the other side at defensive end, and a ton of versatile weapons down there. That's going to be the Melissa Cardinals. They're not rated in that top 10. Look for them. That'd be my dark horse right now.
All right, 4A Division 1, a lot of the same names at the top that we've seen. Tyler Chapel Hill is loaded, though. I really like that roster. Demetrius Brisbane, super talented kid at quarterback, great athlete. But China Spring, man, that program is on the rise in a big way. They won a state championship last year. They're good in all their sports. It seems like a lot of that Waco area population has started to move out to China Spring. And I would go China Spring as my state champion. Then my number 2, it might be Chapel Hill. Yeah. I'm going to go because I think Demetrius Brisbane's a real thing.
Well, I like Brisbane and I like Stewart, and they got I'm Huddleston. I'm blanking. It's Cavante, I think. Huddleston, the Texas Tech commit, starts at tackle and defensive end for them. They got some ball players at Chapel Hill, and like you said, Brisbane is the real deal. I'm gonna go ahead and go with Chapel Hill as my selection there for state. I think they were an overtime period away from it last year.
Yep. El Campo there at number 4. Ruben Owens can win a game, and he can win you 4 or 5 games in a row there, 5-star running back at El Campo. And then, you got the same suspects. You got some of those, Stephenville at the top. Just a great tradition there. They were in the state title game last year. Then some familiar names, Salina's in there, Corpus Christi, Cal Allen. So there's some really good teams from really storied programs in that 4A Division I. Kilgore. 4A Division I looks like it's going to be tough. It's going to be loaded. 4A Division II now. Shocker, Carthage is at the top. But Wichita Falls Hershey has had some really kind of on the cusp in that division. Pleasant Grove's there at number 5. West Orange Stark, again, another top 10 with some storied football programs in there.
Yeah, and I know it didn't happen last year, but it's hard to pick against Carthage
every year.
Exactly. So I'll be honest, I don't even know too much about what they're bringing back. They got a big time receiver. They got that. I just know they're going to be really good as long as Surratt's out there at the top of the leading the way. They're going to be tough for everybody. So they definitely that would be my pick. Right out of the gate.
Dark horse, keep an eye on Silsby.
Yeah.
Down there at number 9, Draylon Miller's as good as anybody in the state in that class at 24 in terms of playmaking ability. Really good. I like their quarterback a lot. Big physical on the offensive line. Keep an eye on Silsby there. So now we'll go 3A and down. We'll just pick one team that you think can win a state championship or your best bet to win a state championship in those divisions. I'll start. I'll go easy. They got to a state final 2 years ago. They won it last year in 3A Division II. Now they're in 3A Division I. But Franklin's loaded again. Franklin's really, really good. The only thing that's changed is they've moved up, so they'll get Brock and Lorena in the playoffs. But they're super good, man. They're super talented for a 3A school. They've probably got 4 Division I, maybe 5 Division I players on that roster either this year or in the future. So give me Franklin as a state championship pick in the small schools.
And I'll go, Shiner. You got Dalton Brooks. You got to put that one in there.
Be interesting how he does without his brother, though, right?
Yeah, it will be. But he's gonna be all right. He looks like he's ready to handle some business on both sides of the ball. And I'm excited to see what those Comanches got brewing down there. I'd also throw in Gunter would be another one from out this way to keep an eye on.
It's another one that's been on the cusp, right?
they've been right there. They've been there and they've been right there, throughout the year. So definitely bring a lot to the table, both those programs.
Well, we're super excited. The 2022 season is upon us. Jason will have Dallas locked down. I'll be around Houston. We'll split up the rest of the state, but we'll be right here every week to bring you the TexAgs High School Football Show. And again, so thankful for Academy for sponsoring us this fall. For Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger. We'll catch y'all next week.